This is for burnt out health professionals. This presentation is sustainable success, the intersection of the CEO, doctor, and wellness. I shall share my screen. All right, having sustainable success. And what that means is preventing burnout. And without any further ado, we shall get started. So we have a healthcare crisis, and it's not what you think. People care. People are getting sicker every day. And the problem is that 63% of physicians stated that they will be leaving their practices in 2 years' time. That statistic rolled out in 2021. And guess what? 2 years is up. It is now 2023, and clinician burnout is real. And it's more real and more of a problem than it ever has been. And clinician burnout, while it's real, it is not a weakness. It's a symptom of disease at the roots of practicing medicine. And that's what I want to talk about today. So when I started out in my practice, we were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And when we get into basically just the trenches of running and operating a business, a medical practice, managing patients, marketing and networking and doing all the administration work, and you're working yourself so hard, and you're working hard and yet you're getting underpaid, because that's what small business owners fall in the trap of. That's what naturopathic doctors fall in the trap of. So I was very, very busy running a standard naturopathic medical practice all on my own, and I was overwhelmed. And then what was happening is I would commute to work, rolling out of bed. I would get to the office, sit to prep for the patients, check the email. I would sit to see the patients, sit through lunch and work through lunch. I would sit to research and do administration, patient management. All of those emails are continuing to come in, and the to-do list and the tasks were just coming in faster than I can even keep up with, and then I would commute back home and I would barely make dinner, and then I would be stacking my schedule back to back to back to really try to maximize on my end of the month return on investment, those ROIs and bottom lines and all of that stuff. And and then I would save all of my charting for at home, because the electronic health record allowed us to be able to do charting wherever we were. But what that ended up doing was pushing rest and recovery time and family time off to the back burner. And when your stress is this high and you're this overwhelmed and you're not getting paid, it's like your bank account is not even adding up to how hard you are working. And eventually what's going to happen is you're going to get from that hyper busy state to the state of exhaustion. And that's exactly where I was. I was really, really tired. And, that overwhelm and that exhaustion, what was happening is that, I felt it, and I was starting to get frustrated and irritable, and my fuse was getting shorter for those afternoon patients, and everything that just seemed, they're small, simple tasks. Everything was daunting and just feeling like such a weight, and I really couldn't handle much anymore. So I began to micro quit. And as I was micro quitting, that was also me standing in my closet and coming out with Closet Monster, where my fat jeans were tighter than they'd ever been. So I gained, so much weight. My body was hurting. I was fatigued and brain fogged. And it wasn't really until I saw a dip in my business from the micro quitting. And then I also saw a dip in my health. And a patient even said to me, "Dr. Lexi, you look really tired." And it was in that moment that I said to myself, I've got to make a change. This is not sustainable. This is not the way that I was set out to be a doctor. This is not how I wanted to feel. And so in that moment, I made a decision. And the decision was, what? I can't do this alone. And so I need to hire a coach. So not only did I hire a business coach, I realized that, success is happening by the person that you're becoming. And so I realized, you know what, I need to work on myself. So I got a personal development coach. And then through my story, you're going to hear about me getting into exercise. And so I landed into coaching with that as well. And I am just a huge fan because they really help you to navigate these waters, not alone, but with tools. And and then there's a camaraderie that comes with that and connection. And anyway, I went from feeling this burnt out solopreneur. I went through this phase of, you know what, I'm just going to take off my white jacket. I want to take off naturopathic medicine. Everywhere I had naturopathic medicine, I just took it off, and I went into this, I call it the dark phase. And it's, I had that black jacket on and hot pink, and I was just this woman in power. And I'm like, I am going to conquer this, and I'm going to get out of burnout. And the way that I got out of burnout, the way that I shifted from, feeling overwhelmed and like my practice was running me, I was finally able to start learning how to take back control of my practice and start doing things that I really love to do in a way that I love doing it and that comes naturally to me. And I went from exhausted and overweight and fat to becoming a half Ironman finisher 3 times. And I'm working on my next half Ironman. And, and for those of you who don't know the distances of half Ironman, that's 1.2 miles in the water of open water swimming. It's 58 miles on a bike ride. And if that's not enough, then you're running 13.1 miles, which is a half marathon. And then that would conclude your half Ironman. And to cross that line with energy still left in the tank of thinking, I could have gone more, which is crazy, right? But that's where I am, and that's where I was, and that's where I became. And and the half Ironman, that whole mentality is something I'll talk about a little later, but it's really helped me to make some major shifts. And in doing that, not only did I come out of that exhaustion, it really changed everything. And so hiring those coaches really has helped me to run a more sustainable business. It's helped me to see that wellness and taking care of yourself along the way is crucial. And, and in that as well, it's about getting yourself back and falling back in love with what you're doing. And I truly believe that no matter where you are in your practice, no matter where you are in your personal or professional journey, you can bounce back and you can take back control of your life and your health and your career. It does not have to be this way forever for you. And it is possible. Change is absolutely possible, no matter your age and no matter where you are. And so for me, just a background, I graduated from Bastyr University back in 2011, and I've been practicing since. And it's been 10 plus years of helping other professionals with stress management and, hormone balance and fatigue, just like many of you. And, I practice naturopathic medicine just like we were taught, 2 hours for the first office visit, followed by monthly check-ins, paying at the time of visit, overcomplicating the care plans or the treatment plans, and look, if that's how you practice and you love it and it's feeding your soul and you are living a fulfilled life and you love just how everything is, that's awesome. And I want to celebrate that with you. And I want to encourage you just to keep doing what you're doing, because I truly believe that if it's working for you, then don't change it. But if it's not working for you, if you are really exhausted and you're overwhelmed and you have this strong desire to want to make some positive changes for yourself and also for your life, that's what this presentation is about. And that's where I really want to help you to get unstuck, get out of burnout, and have the life that you want. So for the rest of this presentation, I'm going to be sharing with you key things that I did to get from this girl in her blue shirt all the way down into this, I put back on the white jacket because I've fallen back in love with helping people. And I'm really proud of being a naturopathic doctor. And then I am still the triathlete as well. And so this presentation is not to train you how to be a triathlete, okay? But what it is it's really going to be there to help you to see that yes, I am an entrepreneur. Yes, I am a practice owner and a doctor, and I'm still making time for wellness because it is that important. So, without any further ado, I just want you to know I believe in you. You can do this. You can get on that start line, and this journey that we're going to navigate together for the rest of the time is really all about sharing my story with you and sharing some key points and hoping to inspire you and motivating you to take the next step. So, getting your spark back. Get your spark back is all about the fire within. And a fire requires three things: fuel, oxygen, and a spark. So, what fuels you? What fuels your soul? What do you love about being a doctor? What conditions and situations or problems do you have with your patients, the favorite patients that you're working with? I use this photograph here with the children staring up at the sky because sometimes we've gotten so far and deep into the trenches that we have forgotten. We've forgotten what we love, and we've forgotten how to dream and to imagine. And I really want you to just take a moment to really think, quieting the mind and listening into the heart. And what is heart space saying? What is it telling you? What are your dreams and desires? And whatever those were, that's what led you to become a clinician. That's what led you to become the kind of specialty and the rock star that you are. It's mixed in with everything else, and everything else can be all the administration and everything that you're doing that is outside of practicing medicine and just doing the craft itself. And also, are you really attracting the kind of cases and conditions that you love working with? That's another question. And the thing is here, the important thing is you cannot be the jack of all trades. And, getting in the lane that feeds your soul and that you're naturally good at, the things that you're good at that no one else is, what is that? And that's the first step in this. And this is part of that self-discovery. Now, when you correlate this to your health, isn't it better to be the best version of yourself for your favorite patients? Doesn't a healthier you decrease brain fog and improve energy and sleep and focus? And if you have more energy, better sleep, and increased focus, how does that impact your practice? How does that impact your patient outcomes? How does it impact your relationships at home, with your spouse, with your children, with yourself, with God, a higher power, if you're into that? And once you get clear on what it is that you really love and whatever it is that you're really naturally good at, that's key. And I want to work with health professionals who have big hearts. And I discovered, I love working with people who have these passion-driven desires and a purposeful life. And they are so driven that is what's driving their health to the ground, and they're forgetting the importance of taking care of themselves. And that's what motivates me. And also, I love to do public speaking. I love presenting. I love educating. And I've really needed to lean into that because that is what energizes me and excites me. And it's not for everybody, right? So that's an example. Some clinicians are so good at IV therapy and they love that and they get the thrill of it. That's awesome. Go for it. Some people love that primary care, just working with the women or the patients that are just fatigued and overwhelmed, and or the pediatrics working with children, whatever that is for you, go with it. Listen to that. And as you're rediscovering yourself, that's where you're going to begin to learn how to fuel your passion. And when you blend who you love working with, plus what you're naturally good at, this will naturally motivate you, and it's going to naturally energize you and get you excited to just get up in the morning and do your work. You might be taught how to run a practice, but people are thinking outside the box now. And the culture is accepting things that are, like the concierge model and online courses and group programs. So start really thinking about what fuels your passion. Start thinking about how you can create more of that. And as you begin to dream and to imagine, then point number 2 comes into play, because the brain begins to get into the way. This is your self-limiting beliefs. And gosh, point number 2, this is a big one, because your brain is designed to keep you protected. And what happens when we are busting through new territory and getting into the great unknown? It's scary. And the brain doesn't want us there. It wants to stay comfortable. It wants to stay familiar. It wants to stay predictable. Well, when we begin to challenge the way you've been doing something for 10 or longer, 10 years or longer, or maybe you've only been in practice for 3 years, but guess what? From the moment you were born to now, as doctors and then even as patients, you're being trained. Sign, symptom, go to the doctor, get treatment, go away. Come back when there's a new problem. Sign, symptom, treatment, go away. Repeat, rinse and repeat. The second thing people are trained to do is, hey, do you take my insurance? We're trained from the moment we enter this world. That's the medical model that we're being plugged into. And what's really, really cool with integrative and naturopathic and functional medicine and dancing outside of the box is that people are getting really creative. They're getting creative online, on social media. And so there's many, many, many ways that you can do the work that you love to do and still maintain helping people. But there's going to be some roadblocks. There's going to be some things that are holding you back, that are inhibiting you from moving forward. So this is your brain saying, I can't do that. I won't do that. There's no way I can do that. I don't have the skill set for that. Whatever those negative beliefs are in your mind, I want you to begin to challenge that, because those are the things that are keeping you from really breaking free and moving on. And, so being involved in the half Ironman, so triathlon, when I decided, once I began to make time, so one of my coaches, he was talking about time management and time blocking. And I'm like, well, what's the point of me owning my own practice if I don't have control over my time? So I started to see patients earlier in the day, and I decided I would stay 30 minutes later at night because I wanted to value my lunch hour, and I really wanted to start exercising and splitting my day up like that. It was the best thing I could have done for myself and my practice. And I began to really commit and make that a priority for myself. So that meant all the networking that happened during lunchtime. Nope. All the one-to-ones that people wanted to say, yep, I want to schedule for this time. Nope. Hey, Dr. Lexi, can I see you at 11:30? Nope. Because I made a commitment to myself. And when I did that, that's when I really discovered half Ironman. Well, really, it was just triathlon. And when I was starting triathlon, I never swam, like a proper swim lesson. I thought I could ride a bike because, well, riding a bike is riding a bike, right? And the longest I had run was a 5K, which is 3.2 miles. That was it. But I really wanted to do something that, I don't know, like challenge myself. It's like a woman where she just has this, like maybe she gets a divorce and she just changes her hair color and changes her whole persona. It was kind of like that for me, and it was a dip in my life. It was my dip in my practice. And I'm like, I've got to make a change. And I just did. And I'm like, triathlon. Yeah, I'm going to try that. Well, in the very beginning, swimming 750 yards was daunting. It was, I was scared. I'm like, there's no way I can do that. There's the brain keeping you small. There's no way I can do that. Well, yes, there is. One stroke at a time, one laying a brick. Your empire and your practice building, it's one brick at a time. Pyramids, they weren't built in a day. It was one gigantic cement block at a time. And it took a team. You couldn't do that alone. And so I had people around me that were going through the same process, and they had their similar challenges, and then with the bike riding, it was like, okay, I'm going to get through 12 miles. Gosh, 12 miles seemed like such a long distance. And running, it's like running 6 miles, running 9 miles. What? Running a half marathon? What? Like all of these things, they just, my brain was so inhibited by this false belief that I couldn't go those distances. Well, I was right at that time. I couldn't go those distances, but I am able to. I just need to train for that. I need to learn how to do that. And that took, 2 years to really do a full blown 70.3 half Ironman, of me just entering the sport and learning and being submerged around these incredible athletes and people. So I parallel that to in private practice when someone's challenging you to maybe look at your business model a little differently and to look at your calendar and the way that you schedule out your patients differently, or the way that you present the same information over and over and over again. What's blocking you from getting out of this state, this burnout, this merry-go-round of insanity? And where do you need to start really dialing in? Because when you start to bust through your limitations, you break these chains, you feel so much better. And, and that's what I'm doing now is I'm doing things different in my practice. Gosh, it was one of my limiting beliefs was in my self-worth and my value. What we bring to the table as naturopathic doctors is beyond anything people are getting anywhere else. And these integrative doctors and these functional doctors, some of them are really, really great. They're good. But many of them have no clue what they're doing. They're running these tests, and because they're sexy and sellable, but do they really sit down and take the time to educate and to really reason through why I'm running this test? So you bring so much value to the table. And as you're bringing value to the table and with your patients, don't undervalue yourself. You're worth it. Give people payment plans. You can have different payment structures that works for many different, incomes if you're into that. And when and only then that you are paying your bills, you're making rent, you are living the life that you want to live financially, then and only then do you volunteer your time as a clinician. I cannot emphasize this more. I volunteered myself till I was broke, and all the volunteering and all the pouring out into the community with zero ROI, zero return on investment, led me to almost bankruptcy and going to food banks and living with family. That is not the place to be. And so if you're tinkering on things like that, really challenge your self-worth and value, because that might be a limiting belief that is deep down and you may not even realize it exists, but it's real. And so that's where that personal development coach came in, to where I really realized, man, I got to work on me too, because I need to be the bigger dreamer. I need to bust through my own glass ceilings. If I can cross a finish line of a 70.3, then I can build a business that lets me live free. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Okay. So in my Spark course, we do dive into these roadblocks, and we really do work on what is keeping you from moving forward. And that can be anything from mindset to poor management, poor time management. But please don't let those things steal your joy, and please don't let these things put out your spark, because you're worth it. And you're doing amazing things in this world, and people need you. They're waiting for you to come out there and just teach them what you know. And coming from a place of burnout is not the ideal place. And you deserve far more than that. Which brings me to my third point. And that is, we by default, by DNA, we are first line responders. We may not be first responders literally, like we're out there in the hurricane and first responding to people floating away and all of that, natural disasters. We may not even be first responders in, like a car accident or something like that. But we're doctors. We're first responders for people's wellness, and we are very, very good about putting aside our own needs in order to take care of others. A mother will do the same thing. She puts away her needs and what's good for her to take care of her children. And while that's admirable, guess what they teach you? Okay, yes, they teach you about, you got to put on the mask, your mask first, before you put on everybody else's masks. Does that really happen? And does that really work? I think so. But I will say this. As a first responder, what, in like your CPR first aid class, what is the first thing that you do when you arrive at a scene as a first responder? What's the first thing? You check the scene. You check the scene for safety. You have to make sure that before you enter the scene that there isn't a live electrical wire sitting there in a puddle of water. You don't want to electrocute yourself. You also don't want to electrocute your team. So you have to check the scene for your own safety. Okay, now these are extreme examples. However, it's the same concept. If you are not making time to take care of you, how is that impacting your patient care? When you come to that visit and you're burnt out and you're frustrated and you can barely keep your eyes open because you're exhausted, maybe you're walking into that visit hypoglycemic or dehydrated, or you haven't meditated in weeks, whatever the thing is that you need, you walk into that visit, are you at your best self? And are you, that whole concept of first do no harm? It's a tall order to ask of a clinician to always be on and always be on point and always be taking care of yourself. And like realistically, like we're going to fall short on a few things, but prioritize. And one of the things you've got to prioritize is putting you at the front and really starting to schedule out. So like I told you just a minute ago, I scheduled out time. I blocked out time to exercise and I made it a commitment. I was still running my practice, but I really, really made sure that I was making time for me, for change. And so that's what this is all about. And so with that being said, you're in a rat race and you're scheduling patients back to back to back. You're doing all the tasks. You're, managing the patients and scheduling them and doing all the things that you do. And you say to yourself, I don't have time to exercise today. It's just not happening. I don't have time to cook today. This is not happening. I don't have time to pray or to meditate in the middle of my day. Well, the truth is that every single person is given 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And your power is in what you choose to do with your time. And I'll tell you, my outlook on life and personality and professional life completely changed when I began to make time. And, in that short fuse and that brain fog, it all went away when I started to exercise. And my confidence and experience in the community, when I finally made time for myself to exercise and plug in and was getting into the triathlon community, my experience in the world completely changed. So for an example, I went on this business trip, and on the way I brought my bike because I wanted to continue to exercise, and I was by the beach and I wanted to ride my bike. I would have never brought a bike prior to triathlon. I discovered this island called Jekyll Island, and I had just Google searched where's the best place to cycle, to do road cycling. Jekyll Island came up multiple times. I went, and it was such an incredible experience. And it was a Monday, and I gifted myself with a day, and I just took it. I rode my bike, I enjoyed the beach, and it was such a lovely, wonderful, rejuvenating day. And I want to ask you, when was the last time that you gifted yourself with that? When was the last time that you gifted yourself with a do nothing day where you just let it all go? I have this saying, with my patients, it's like, well, they're neither dead nor dying, because I'm not in the ER. I chose an industry where I didn't have to be on a pager. Some of you might be, and if that's you and you thrive on that, awesome. For me, I knew that's not how I would thrive. And so for me, one of my boundaries is that, okay, they're neither dead nor dying. This can wait. because right now I'm taking care of me. I'm taking care of my family. Whatever that is for you, get off the rat race, merry-go-round of craziness, and start making time. Make time to be still and to rest. And resting is what you're doing. It's a brain break during the time of being awake. Sleeping is different. That's when we're not awake. But rest, we are awake during the day, resting our brains, resting our eyes from the computer. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do. And when you start to look at your calendar and you're tempted to stack back to back to back to back patients, I just want to make you ask 3 questions. Is stacking my patients back to back to back serving me? Is it serving my family? Is it serving my patients themselves? Are you walking into those appointments exhausted? Are you stacking yourself back to back so much that you have to take work home with you to chart and to do all the post-visit administration work? And are you burning yourself out by doing that? And if that's the case, I'm going to encourage you to wake up and start really assessing how you're doing with your schedule. Now, the amazing thing with the ability to say no and to start time blocking means that what you're doing is you're freeing up time for rest, family time, the things that are important. And in fact, that'll help you to be more productive, and you're going to come to your visits more energized. And that's what we want. So, hey, are you enjoying this? I really hope you are, because, I constantly want to be bettering myself. I want to better my presentation. And so what I love to do is ask the audience to, in this time to just, if you can take a moment and I want you to do a survey for me. And the survey takes like less than 2 minutes to do. Now, here's the thing. You're going to take out your phone and you're actually going to put it above this QR code. And it's going to come up with a screen that says, put in your code, and the code is SPARK, SPARK. And if you can't do the QR code, there's a link at the bottom of the QR code that's called talk.ac/Dr. Lexi. Talk, as in like I'm talking, .ac/Dr. Lexi. And what this is a 2-minute survey tops. And I'm going to give you a gift. And the gift, that Spark, is going to take you to a page. And if you scroll, there's going to be it's basically a 5-day journey to really helping you navigate and go in further into this Spark message and the message I'm giving you today. And it's 5 days because I really want you to take each day to really think about the stuff that I'm bringing up today, because change doesn't happen in an instant. The decision to make the change happens in an instant, but the process takes time. And so I want to say thank you for allowing me to educate you on this and to really, help you to get unstuck and out of burnout. And I also want to say thank you so much for the survey, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take your feedback and I'm going to learn, hey, this is how I can help other doctors like you and how I'm going to do that better. Maybe there's something I said tonight or today that didn't resonate well with you. I welcome that feedback, because this is how we all continue to get better. And getting better is what we want in health, in life, and in business. And so personal growth, professional growth, it never stops. And so if you're continuing to do that, wonderful. As I said, the code for that is SPARK. So now I'm going to get into my last point as I wrap this up. And this is my favorite. And I saved the best for last, because does everyone here know about the Black Knight off of Monty Python? Monty Python, the Holy Grail. You've got this knight, the White Knight, coming through, and it's a comedy. It's a really, really like bad British comedy from like the 70s, I think, maybe even the 60s, but I think it was 70s. But anyway, you have this Black Knight, and he's coming across this path, and the White Knight is coming across the path, and the Black Knight, he's like, you're not passing, dude. Like, you're not doing it. I am guarding this path. That is what my role is. And you're not going to pass me. And the white knight and the black knight, they go into this challenge. And, and the thing is that the white knight is totally winning this by definition. I mean, so the black knight, you're seeing this ketchup coming off the side because you would have an arm flying and a leg flying, and there's carnage everywhere. And, and the black knight is like, come back here. I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet. This is just a flesh wound. Well, the black knight represents so much in my story. And I wonder if I would identify with it. I wonder if you would identify with this as well. Because when you are exhausted and when you are burnt out and when you're just trying to just make it through a day, sometimes it just feels like you've been punched in the gut. Sometimes you feel as though life is just cut off your arms and your legs and you have nothing left. And I'll tell you, in this journey of change, it hasn't always been easy. It's actually been pretty rocky and tough. But the Black Knight, what I love about this character is that not only is there carnage everywhere and he's been punched and life has just pulled the rug out from under his legs. Literally, he's got no legs left. He's got no legs, no arms. He is still fighting. He's still standing up and saying, hey, come back here. I'm going to bite you with my teeth. And I love this scene because no matter how hard something might be or how scary it might be to just take that leap of faith to make a change, the Black Knight's saying, you got this. Okay, yeah, it's going to be hard. No big deal. Come back here. It's just a flesh wound. I'll bite you with my teeth. That's resources. The Black Knight has, no matter what, an I can attitude. And that I can attitude is exactly what I want to encourage you to have, because you can make positive changes in your practice. You can make positive changes in your life, and you can integrate in self-care and wellness into your daily routine, because that is crucial. It's an ethical obligation to the clinician to take care of yourself. It is an ethical obligation to a mother to take care of herself so that you're being able to bring forth the best version of yourself. And so making you a priority, taking action can really help you to, okay, yeah, you feel a little beat up. That's burnout. But you can start to just have that bliss again and get out of the burnout and feel like yourself again. Fall back in love with what you do, with what you have been doing, or maybe you try something new. You do it in a little bit of a different way. That's what I had to do, and you can do this. Absolutely. And I just want to say, reiterating that I was the burned out clinician. I was the Black Knight, carnage everywhere. A patient, telling me, gosh, Dr. Lexi, I think you're irritable. You seem a little irritable with me, a little frustrated. And I'm like, yeah, I'm frustrated. You didn't comply with anything, these people. And when you're coming from a place of exhaustion, your fuse is really short, you get a little snippety. And so you can get from that to a place of energy and getting back into your light. And this is how you get your spark back. And I wanted to say thank you so, so much. And my email or my website is www.drlexilane.com. You can follow me on social media at Dr. Lexi Lain. My YouTube channel is Get Your Spark Back. And as I said, this is my survey QR code. It takes you to just a quick, super easy 2-minute survey. And as I said, at the end of that, I'm going to gift you with a 5-day journey. That 5-day journey is, I really highly encourage you to go through the process. It's more of what you just received today. And then from there, I'll follow up with you, check in, see how things are going. And then we can invite you to dive in further and deeper, because, hey, you know what? I'm here for you. You do not have to do this alone. always get a mentor. I have 3, 4 mentors, and then in the community, I have other people to lean on. I call up colleagues. You don't have to swim in the waters alone. Do not be in the trenches alone, because mountains are climbed with a team. And, we're stronger in numbers and we need each other. So I'm Dr. Lexi Lain, and I want to say thank you so much. And we will see you online.